Welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to talk about keeping your computer organized. It's something that I'm kind of an organization freak. Something I don't really think about often, but I get a lot of questions from students and clients, so I wanted to just talk about it real quick. Here you can see my desktop of my computer. You'll notice there's not too much on it. That's a good thing. You don't want your desktop covered with things. What I do is I have current projects I'm working on for clients on my desktop up here. I keep a folder called to print on my desktop a lot of times. That just allows me any pictures if I take one of my boys and I want to make a print of it, I throw it in this folder, and then when I have a group I go send it to the printer. I have a couple other little art things I work on. I keep my blog article stuff here. I have art ideas here, and digital scrapbooking is kind of a weird thing to have on my desktop. This has all my digital scrapbooking supplies, which, by the way, if you open this up, you can actually kind of see I keep this organized as well by alphabets, brushes and stamps, edges, embellishments, etc. These categories, by the way, these individual folders pretty much I got the ideas from the digital scrapbooking website. This is kind of how they divide things up. One of the reasons I haven't moved this is because I have those digital scrapbooking files linked in a number of documents, and I use the digital scrapbooking for some work things and some personal things and kind of a smattering. So I've just left it there. So if you come over here, these little guys here are all my website stuff. So my personal websites, my Botanical Amy site is right here. These are my files where I keep all of the stuff. So my different graphics that I'm using for it. And the reason I like to keep that on my desktop is partially just because I do attempt to update these sites rather regularly. I'm pretty bad about my personal design website right now. That desperately needs an update. But that is why I've kept those on my desktop, just because it's something I use frequently. If you go within my computer itself, you can see I have my documents, and I have a series of different things. I have ACC, Arapahoe Community College. Andy is my husband. That just has all of his stuff on there. My AVS Design Studio file, you can see how I have that broken up. It's a little more broken up than what my simplified chart is on my actual article on my blog, but you can see how I have these grouped into organizations. So for example, AVS Identity, I have all my personal branding stuff. So my business cards, my logos, all of that stuff goes in here. All of my clients, I have under clients, I have their individual files. So if I finish one of these projects here, I will drag them back into the clients folder. Creative Market is something that I'm kind of thinking about possibly applying for to sell graphics there. So I have a Creative Market. Here's my Etsy shop, invoices, expenses, all this kind of stuff. So once again, you can see how I have it broken up and then divided into further categories. If you go back to documents, you can also see how I have family albums. I have 2014, 2015. I used to divide it up by random date ranges and realized that it was just confusing. So now we just do an annual family album each year. Like I said, the key thing is on your computer is to think of file organization as kind of like a taxonomy. You can see how I go to my documents and I have subdivisions here. From these subdivisions, like ACC, I can go to either my courses or I can go to my packets. So these are my current packets, or if I have a student who wants an old packet, I can go back here and go to old packets. So once again, just kind of thinking it as breaking it up and moving things around. I do want to show you if you want to clear things out. So for example, this digital scrapbooking was a course that I never ended up teaching. I can actually just go, you know what? I don't use this anymore. I have no plan to use it. I can just dump it in the trash. If you're not going to use it, get rid of it. If it's a file you don't need anymore, think of it as kind of that clutter removing in your house, the same idea. Get rid of things you don't need here. There's actually a couple courses I haven't taught anymore as well that I probably should get rid of, but I want to hang on to a little bit longer. The other thing I want to show you is how you can make new things. So for example, under ACC, I could make a new folder and I could call it Old Courses, right? So something that I'm like, I don't really teach this anymore. So for example, this, and I think I already got rid of it. Well, let's pretend I need to drag this ACC presentation. I can go and drag this into Old Courses, right? And now it's in here. I'm basically just showing you, some people don't know how to drag and drop files. Many of you probably do, but you can move things around like that. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I don't need it. But do know that when you're within a folder, you can make a new folder. Like I said, just go to File, New Folder, give it a name. Oops. Give it a name. And then know that you can drag these things around. So if you wanted study skills to be in example, I could put that in example, or I can drag it back out here. Do know that you can move files around. Another thing that's helpful is if you have things you want to move to very different places, I could go to New Finder window. This allows you, let's say I want to move one of these ACC things over to, for example, in my AVS Design Studio, I have graphics. Well, maybe I want to move this software chart here into the graphics section here. I could drag that over and put it in there. That's just an example. You can open 2 of these Finder windows so you can move things around easily. By the way, if your Finder window is huge like this, you can just go to these little green buttons and yellow buttons, minimizes and expands these things. So once again, you can make it giant. So if yours opens up like this and you're all frustrated because you can't make it smaller, do know that you can bring it like this. Also know that when you're looking at your files, you can click the type of view that you see. I personally like this list view, but if that's something that's frustrating, you know that you can change the view that you have here. Just a little tip on how to kind of make folders, since some people don't know how to do them. Once again, you can drag them around. So if I wanted to go to Documents and I had Personal, let's say I wanted to put to print in Personal, I can just drag that in here, drag that back out. And a good example of this would be this recipe I've had sitting here. I can just drag this up into Personal with some of my other recipes. I could make a folder with recipes, but I just have those 2 documents. So I'm not too worried about it. Make sure you have folders within folders so that you can find things easily. Don't have a million things on your desktop. It will slow your computer down if you put too many things on your desktop, and it does make things harder to find. Hopefully this was helpful, and if you want, I do have a free chart you can fill out, as well as just some typed up kind of tips on my blog to get you started on organizing your computer.